Good morning. Hello, hello, my friends. This is Dottie Posto, for those of you who may not have seen my lives before. And I am a coach and a leadership and team development consultant. And I coach primarily women leaders in burnout who are either on the brink of or have been through burnout and are feeling like they're getting there again. And so that's what I coach people through to end burnout from the inside out. And if you go back, last time we talked about some of the things that we tend to try from the outside in. And we're going to speak today again about some of the inside out kinds of things that you can do to help end burnout. And I want to talk today about anger. And it kind of popped in my head from some reading that and notes that I've taken listening to some of Dr. Gabor Mate's work. And he talks about, here's a quote from him: "The repression of anger is a major risk factor for illness, including autoimmune disease, cancer, and chronic conditions, chronic pain. When we suppress our," he says, when we suppress our emotions, we also suppress our immune system. And so I'm going to talk about how, and we're going to talk about one emotion in general, which is anger. And this can apply to anxiety. This can apply to frustration. This can apply to depression. This can apply to any feeling, any emotion. And, one of these times I'm going to figure out how to bring up something on the screen because I would love to share with you. I don't know why I haven't done this yet, but I know I can present things and I just need to get everything set up well to do that. But if you're interested, I have a tool called the Tiers of Emotions that can help you kind of, if you're not used to putting words to your emotions, this can be helpful because it's got like 21 and actually even more than that because each one has a couple of more in between, but there's 21 main emotions and then a few for each, a few extras, that are also emotions or feelings that are related. And any emotion, let's first define what an emotion is. An emotion is energy in motion. It is a vibration in our body. And there are three different ways that you can deal with really any emotion. And we're going to speak about anger in particular because it really, and I'm only speaking of anger just as an example, because the suppression, truly, the suppression of any of your emotions is going to do the same thing as suppressing anger. Because just like my book says, and it's on the shelf, so I didn't pull it out, but feelings buried alive still survive. Or feelings buried alive never die. If we bury our feelings, if we push down our emotions, they don't die. And what happens is it's like pushing down a beach ball and trying to push a beach ball underwater. Eventually, it pops up, and the further you push it down, the higher that beach ball is going to go. And so I really want to talk about three different ways that you can deal with an emotion. And you'll see that the first two are not good. And that the last one is how you really want to work with and manage. I don't even like that term because we're not really managing them. We are working with them. So the first thing is to repress or suppress your emotions. And basically what that is what I was just referring to as pushing down. And it could be two different ways. It could be suppressing it, repressing it. So it could be like pushing down a beach ball underwater, like I mentioned, or like trying to hold a door closed of maybe rushing water or something trying to come in. And this weakens the immune system. When we push down, when we do not allow these emotions to flow, this represses, this dampens down our immune system. This has been proven over and over and over that by shoving down our feelings, by not feeling our feelings, we repress our immune system. And the way this can look like for women leaders, women in leadership roles in particular, is rather than, and we'll talk about healthy ways, we'll talk about the healthy ways to do it. But often it's like we want to keep things going, we want to keep the peace, we don't want to cause any disruption, we don't want to have conflict, so to speak. And it's going to lead, whether that's with women leaders in the workplace or at home, it's going to lead to chronic conditions. And these aren't just big things like autoimmune or cancer, but it could also be skin issues, acne breaking out, or uh, like, I can't even think of the name of it now, but different skin issues, or even digestive problems, all sorts of things. The second way that you can deal with anger is to act it out, where you're reacting or you might be raging. And when you're acting impulsively, when you are, and I always used to say with a team that I worked with when I worked at Harley was, the other person is not a garbage can with a hairy lid. Hairy lid. They're not a garbage can with a hairy lid. You're not there to, and I have to think of a better way to say this, but I always say vomit your emotions, your reactions over to someone. That's not what they're there for. That does not help. That is not a healthy expression of anger. You reacting to something someone says. These intense outbursts can lead to heart disease, high blood pressure, risk of a heart attack, and it has a ripple effect in our relationships, because if someone says something and it triggers something in our brain, the only reason we feel the anger is because what we're making whatever they said mean. And it doesn't get to the root cause. Just blowing up at someone never gets to the root cause of whatever is really happening. And again, any emotion we feel is because of the thought in our head. What are we making it mean? And those things outside of us, the circumstances, the facts, a lot of times we mix up our thought about things with what the facts are. So we might have somebody says words. Our boss asks us, a leader asks us to put another project on our plate, and we just blow up. Don't they realize what I'm going through? Don't they realize what I already have to do? Don't, all these different kinds of things. And that reactive, if we blow up and react at that person, and oftentimes I see the reaction more with subordinates than with leaders. I see women leaders will repress their anger with their superiors, and they act it out more with their subordinates. And so these two are kind of the opposite ends of the spectrum. One is repressing it, pushing it down. The other is acting it out and reacting and potentially raging that anger. And then the third and final way, which is the healthiest way to deal with anger, and really, again, like I said, it's the healthiest way to work through, excuse me, work through any emotion that you're having, is to allow it. And Dr. Gabor Mate refers to it as the healthy processing of anger. The first is to recognize it and to, mindfully acknowledge what you're feeling without judgment, without making yourself wrong. No emotions are positive or negative. I really, really, really don't like those terms. An emotion is just an emotion. It is how we are feeling because of the thoughts in our head. The thoughts that we're thinking about whatever's going on outside of us is what causes us to have that feeling. And so I want to take you through very quickly here a short exercise is to, when you're having any emotion, the way to healthily process it is to acknowledge it. Oh, I'm feeling anxiety, or I'm feeling anger. I'm really feeling frustrated or angry. Try to pick one word to describe it. And then really allow yourself to, I don't know, sometimes it helps to close your eyes. And where do you feel it? Do you feel it? A lot of times I feel my emotions right here in my chest. I carry a lot of my stress in my shoulders, so I think my upper torso tends to be where I feel those emotions. And so if I'm feeling angry, what does it feel like? If you if it had a color, what color would it be? These are some questions that you can ask yourself to get curious about this anger. Again, it's energy. It is energy in motion. Emotion is energy in motion. And so, does it have a vibration? Does it have a size, a shape, a color? Is it moving fast or slow? If it's vibrating, is it moving fast or slow? Is it a thump, 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 or is it a like a? Sometimes I get when I get angry or anxious, either one of those, I tend to get this fast vibrational feeling. And often, if you just give it some attention and just allow it to be felt in your body, it'll dissipate. And it's not that it won't ever come back. That just giving that attention and allowing yourself to really pay attention to it, acknowledge it, often it dissipates in a matter of 10 seconds or less. There's actually an organization called 6 Seconds, and it's about emotional intelligence, because emotions, if you allow them, will flow through your body in a matter of about 6 seconds. And you can use different grounding techniques. So you could breathe, and I think I've shared this before, where you breathe like you're feeling the breath come in through the top of your head and then let it feel. And you can do this in a meeting, you can do it standing somewhere while you're getting coffee. See if you can feel the breath take any of that emotion and just allow it to flow through your body and down into the earth. That's a grounding technique that can calm the nervous system. Another one that's really good for anger or anxiety is pick a spot on the wall. So, and don't look at me when you're doing this, but pick a spot on the wall and just really focus on that spot very intently. And then all of a sudden, without moving your eyes, start to notice everything in your peripheral vision. I notice a light. I notice some flip charts on the wall. I notice my light over here and the picture over here and some photos over here. And that alone, when our focus is very narrow and very intent on one thing, that sets our sympathetic nervous system off, like our fight, flight, or freeze. When we're in fight, flight, or freeze, we are very narrowly focused. And so as we broaden our perspective, when we open up our perspective, that kicks in our parasympathetic nervous system. Every time I do this, I can feel my shoulders just relax. And so try that. Focus on a spot on the wall, and without moving your eyes, just start to notice what is everything in your peripheral vision. So and then the last thing I'll share is that you can ask yourself, and this is a little bit of a mind bender, What if, let's say there's something you're angry about, a project that your leader has asked you to head up, and you're really angry about it. Ask yourself in that moment, what is everything I'm not noticing that is not this? And I know that's a little mind bender with the double negative, but what is everything I'm not noticing that's not this? So, what am I not paying attention to that's not this request from my leader? And start to think about what else. I shared this with a friend of mine, and she is so good at noticing beauty in the world and how beautiful things just bring her so much joy, and she can get really, really anxious. And so I suggested to her that when you start to get anxious, think about what is everything I'm not noticing that's not this. Where can I notice something beautiful? The photo behind my monitor, the they're not gardenias. They're not. I can't even think of what my flowers are out there. But looking at my landscaping, it's just gorgeous the way they're turning colors in the fall. So those are a few things that you can do to process your anger. You do not want to repress it. You do not want to act it out and react. You want to allow it. You want to healthily process it so that it can allow your immune system to grow and thrive and be everything it needs to keep you healthy. Because all of those little things that are going on, the skin issues, the digestive issues, the chronic illness, the autoimmune things are all from a major risk factor for those is repressing your emotions. So if you have any questions about this or would like to chat about it more, feel free to DM me. I will be having some webinars coming up at the end of the month, so keep a lookout for those. I will post information about those. So I'll be doing a training webinar on how to end burnout from the inside out. So if you have any questions about that or would like a link to that, let me know. Talk to you in a week. Have a great rest of your week and a great weekend.